What up, though? And welcome to season 2 of the IDX podcast, presented by Social Tech. We call this the Culture Report. I like to call it 3 the Hard Way, where we get it in and we talk about everything from what's going on in politics to entertainment to the state of the culture, to everything in between. It's been a while since you've seen us, but we back. We about to come back with a whole new season. New content, new topics, but the same energy, same vibes. I see we had 2 people tuning in already, so that's what's up. We'll have more information on where you can follow us, how you can stay connected to the podcast and everything. But I want to give a quick shout out to my co-host today, and I'm gonna send it to the one and only Miss Dara first, and then I'm gonna have Sam Sneed go last. So, quick intro, Miss Dara, tell the world what's up, and quick little intro, and then we can pass the mic.
Hello, world. My name is Dara. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and I work in healthcare. So that's kind of my perspective. I consider myself to be a progressive libertarian. So that's where I'm coming from. And I'm excited because I went to school, Battle Creek Central High School with these gentlemen. We're Battle Creek's finest, and I'm excited to be back with them.
Facts. My main man, Sam Sneed. What up, though? Oh, that's riveting commentary right there. You killing them, big dog. You with us? Well, look, peep this. So this pod started a minute ago, but
Yeah.
we were online one day talking about a certain topic. It just hit different. It was hitting the right way. So we said, hey, let's link up and do a pod. We did the first season. We had a lot of fun, talked a lot of good stuff. It was so good we decided to come back. And I want to give my main man Sneed a minute to get back, but I don't want to belabor the point, so I'm gonna let him jump back in. But we're gonna get started here. So first topic of the day. So this was supposed to be a Black History. You're supposed to fit this in the last day of Black History, but things change. So let's talk real quick about Black History Month 2023. How did you celebrate it? What did you do? What was the vibes?
Well, I celebrated it by really trying to focus on how Black women have contributed to Black History Month. I think a lot of times Black History Month kind of just gets boiled down to MLK and maybe Malcolm X, depending on what spectrum you're on. But I mean, even looking at SNCC, I did some research about Mamie Till and more about Ida B. Wells and her writings. I didn't know that she was enslaved at one point in time in her life, and actually her father was the result of the person that owned her, his mother being raped. Mm-hmm. So she was an enslaved African-American woman too. And also too, looking at the correlation between journalism, which is very important, local journalism, and bringing light to issues like the lynchings and the torture that were used in Mississippi, which she did. Big so facts. That's how I spend mine.
Big facts. Sneed, what about you in Black History Month? How'd you celebrate it this year, or did you? You know what I'm saying?
I celebrated. I spent a lot of time just educating myself about revolutionary brothers that wasn't, the traditional Malcolm X, Martin Luther King type joint. So I spent a lot of time listening to speeches from Stokely Carmichael, from H-Rap. Man, I listened to the Ballad of the Bullet from Malcolm X probably 4 or 5 times this month.
Yeah. That's some fire.
Yeah, I just paid attention to I've been paying attention to the pattern, how like when changes happen in the country, how it affected Black people back then. Like when Prohibition was out, how did that affect Black people? When, the civil rights was, movement happened, how did that affect Black people? And to be honest with you, bro, it's like them brothers was lit. They was like 20, 21, 22. Martin Luther King graduated from what, 15, 16?
He was 26 when he led the movement, right?
Yeah, I don't know no brothers that, I don't know no 40-year-old brothers that's on fire like that.
Man, big talk. Real. I mean, that's real talk. I think that's an interesting point. I was kind of feeling a little out of sorts this Black History Month, because it's like usually it's a big deal. You do this whole thing. I was even thinking, I was like, man, usually we watch the little little shows we usually watch with the family and all that. this year I didn't really do all that. Because really, for me, Black History Month is like
It's every day.
it's kind of every day. So like,
Yeah.
but I will say this, I do appreciate how there is so much content out there available. I was just talking about I was looking at the ad for the 1619 project and how powerful that was, or the Emmett Till movie, or any of these pieces that are on any of these streaming networks about crack and the prison and distro complex, about Malcolm X, about all these different things, Roxanne Shante, all of these just different things. So I'm glad it's out there. I think every day is kind of how I move in that space. But I think this year was particularly interesting because even think about coming off of the last couple of years of the challenge to critical race theory. A lot of that has pushed to the forefront what Black history is. Another thing that I did that I thought was at least kind of cool is I was like, if I do look at something, if I do find something, I want to kind of capture history from like 2010 on. And what's so dope about that is if you just think about since 2010, you had the move, the Black Lives Matter from St. Louis and all what was going on over there, what was going on in Baltimore, what was going on down in Sanford, and just all these different places where revolutionaries of this generation. So like one to Sneed's point, I don't know if you guys remember back when St. Louis was it was Ferguson was the hot spot. All them young brothers that was organizing ended up dead, ended up in some kind of particular position. So them was true revolutionaries. Usually the true revolutionaries, you on fire early and you leave.
What my boy Fred Hampton say, it would be my honor to die for the revolution.
And that's it's so interesting. It's like, when we're younger, we all think with that, revolutionary mindset. And as we get older, I think we lose it. But I think there's a renaissance happening. I think there's a lot of go ahead.
You know what's so crazy for me though, bro? I'm getting more radical as I get older. I feel a way towards my family at 41 because y'all didn't teach me shit. Why wasn't y'all teaching me about brothers like Stokely Carmichael and H-Rap and you know what I'm saying? Y'all was trying to teach me to follow the tradition shit that in this country that was made by a whole bunch of racist colonizers.
Facts.
Like y'all never presented the opportunity for me to have a free mind at a young age. I had to free my mind myself.
But I think that's also a transitional generation that we're in too, because if you think about our parents, maybe our parents were the first people that had a little bit of extra income because their parents, I'm sure, did not have that opportunity. I remember my grandfather saying like he saw people in Mississippi and they were basically still sharecroppers, not like making hardly any type of money. Like my great grandfather told me that when he was alive. So I feel like, and also too, even to add on to Steve's point about Stokely Carmichael, he started off as part of a nonviolent movement in SNCC. And then he transferred over into the Black Panther Party. So I think that there was a time period where Black people just kind of went along with what the NAACP did or other organizations did, because there was an organizational structure that really was trying to put forth a good faith effort to negotiate with people. But as you see before, you can't negotiate with terrorists. And the United States government has had a lot of terroristic tendencies towards Black people in this nation, whether it's detainment like they did with Stokely Carmichael and other freedom riders, in Parchman Prison in Mississippi, which is notorious, was basically like a slave labor camp.
Facts.
Whether it's mass incarceration of today, all the things that it has done, detention, solitary confinement, like for Khalif Browder, those types of things, those types of practices still have been existent even into the 2000s. And so I think that people started off thinking that there could be some sort of negotiation or there could be a good faith organization to help us move things forward, but really they haven't. It's all been let's go along with whatever the Democratic Party has to say and whatever they have to do. And a lot of these organizations, even Black churches, have become an extension of the Democratic Party, which really hasn't done much for Black people.
We should have been on that tip. What did in the Ballot versus the Bullet, Brother Malcolm said in 20th or 21st century.
It was the 20th then, now we're in the 21st. Yep.
Okay. He said, if we in 20th century, 1964, and we still at the White House talking about we shall overcome, we have failed as a people. They are not going to solve this problem for us. This system was not structured for us. We have to find a way to fight the system on our own without them, period. No Democrat, no Republican is going to release us from that bondage. We got to release ourselves. But they do a great job of, I heard this today. Have y'all seen Snowfall yet?
Not the new season yet. I'm still catching up.
Okay, brother said on Snowfall last night, he said, I think that it's easier for a slave to be free from bondage than it is for a crackhead to be freed from crack. Damn. They said, why? He said, if you release a slave and tell them they can go free, they'll leave and never come back. If you tell a crackhead that they free, they might be like, what the fuck is you talking about? I'm free. Let me get that rock.
I'm coming right back.
I'm coming right back. I ain't never not leaving. I don't know what y'all talk about.
You know that.
But I heard that today, and it brings me to the point that I've been at for the last 5 years. Anytime any change has come in this country, it's come behind mass death. Nothing happens in this country without a lot of people dying about it. And then to sum up my African American History Month, I finished off the 28th with the interview between Minister Farrakhan and bro from the news when he told him, I think you should keep quiet.
Yep.
When he told them boys, when he was talking about Nigeria and he visited Nigeria, and he said he started off the interview by saying, now you've got into bed with Nigeria, and Nigeria is the worst country I've ever been to, the most corrupt country. He said, hey. And when he got to talk, he went off. He said that country is 35 years old. America is 226 years old. And nothing they did can account for what America, the death, and he said, hell, has America ever dropped the atomic bomb? Has Nigeria ever dropped the atomic bomb on somebody? He said, did they wipe out a race of brown people to take the America from them? He went hard, man. Hey. And that just got me, like I'm jaded with America. And I'm also very adamant about needing to visit Africa. I need to go to Africa.
You know, big facts. I'll save that. I think that's a really good transition to our next set of topics here. February was we get a lot in February. You get the Grammys, you get the All-Star game, you get movies hitting the streaming services. We had a lot of interesting things happening this year. So I want to kind of keep this open to a lot of things. But
what about
go ahead.
What about all the African American shows reissuing their new seasons during Black History Month? So you had the Wu-Tang, you had Wu-Tang, you had the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you had Godfather of Harlem, you had Snowfall, all re-released their new seasons during Black History Month. I thought that was dope.
I'll say this. I think that, February was a really interesting month in that, even if you think about, for those who were big fans, I got this on from the part one. Wakanda 2 came to the Disney streaming service. People was watching that for that kind of vibe. I think The Woman King came out. People was watching that. So it was, like we were saying earlier, it's big on content. Content is king right now, and it's a lot out there. But what about the Grammys? They celebrated hip hop 50 years. Some people liked it, some people didn't. You got any take on that?
I just thought the performance was dope. Wasn't Rakim on there? Rakim. I feel like people like that really, I don't want to say we're like part of the inception of hip hop, but like really to me we're foundational to the whole hip hop movement in the United States of America. I feel like they don't get as much credit.
I agree.
And I just like the whole setup. And honestly, it's kind of crazy because I've always believed that hip hop has taken over the world for a very, very long time. But I think it's really starting to take over America. And that's why, this is an aside, you're seeing so much pushback about CRT and everything like that. It's not just about one thing. It's about a whole bunch of issues that are leading up to a lot of people that are non-Black are starting to see Black people as human beings.
Big facts.
And that's why they don't like it. They want the kind of caste system based off of race. But if you have a white child walking down the street talking about Wakanda forever, they know that they've been indoctrinated even from a young age, and that's why there's such a pushback. Have the Republicans ever cared about education? Does anybody go to Mississippi to get a cardiac catheterization procedure because you're like, oh, the University of Michigan?
No, they ain't going there for that.
No. They go to Massachusetts, they go to Chapin, Philly, they go to all those other places. So education's not a big thing there. I'm just saying, I think they care because their children are now starting to embrace Black people as human beings.
You know, and I to your point, I think that's interesting. I think, you know, hip hop music, you know, I thought the performance was really dope. I thought they was missing a lot though. But I think when you think of it, I think the way they saw it was more of the celebration of kind of that birth era of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, you know, in our lives, and this is, you know, we never would have saw this coming, you know, 20, 30 years ago. The South has led hip hop since what, 2000s or early 2000s. The South was leading it. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for you not to have, and maybe they did and we didn't know, but without, you know, Outkast, Goody Mob, Luda, Tip, all of these people over these last, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, the East Coast and the West Coast, you know, in the Midwest wasn't doing anything. But I think, you know, I think they were missing, and maybe that comes on the next 50-year hip hop celebration you have, when you talk about how, you know, the culture changed and shifted south in every way, shape, or form. So I thought that was interesting. What about? Oh, go ahead. Yep.
But you got to understand, when you talk about that, you got to understand why it did that too, though.
Okay, go ahead. Spit that.
You got to remember it was a mass exodus for a lot of stuff. Remember, GM closed. All them people left Michigan. I mean, even if you think about high school, if you think about football recruiting, Atlanta, Georgia was a hotbed for big time athletics, but Metro Atlanta never was. But now it's like one of the number one places in the country for football and basketball recruiting, just because of what it's become over the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, if you want to do something, you need to be in the A. As far as music goes.
You think so?
I do.
At some point in time, everybody that's on had to spend at least 6 months in the A. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that
either
until I was watching that Kanye West documentary. And he got to spitting. They got to spitting about. But then as I'm, you know, it's so much content. Think about how many people live in Atlanta right now.
I mean, Atlanta has been like a Black Mecca for years, and I think it will continue to be. Even Tyler Perry Studios. Think about even if you go to Atlanta just for networking purposes, simply.
Like, big facts, Atlanta is today what Harlem was back in the 20s. Due to similar things. The reason why Harlem, or I'll change it. I'll say reverse migration allowed for the South to take over again population wise. If you look at across the board, you can go from Southeast all the way to Southwest. You can talk about Raleigh, Charlotte. You can talk about Atlanta. You can talk about Miami. You know, that's a tech hub down there. People were going to Austin. They're going to Dallas. They're going to Houston. They're going to Phoenix. You know, so there is a reverse migration happening back down south. And I think Atlanta, to Atlanta's point, or to the point about Atlanta being, you know, Harlem, is our entertainment capitals are there. I think they've had us chokehold on it for so long, to their credit, because when New York had it, they had it for as long as they did. When West Coast had it, they had it for as long as they did. So I think it's an interesting thing going on. I will say this. I wonder how long they can hold that crown, because as you know, it used to be you had to go to New York to go get a record deal. You had to go out to LA. Now you got to go down Atlanta. You know, how long can they keep that? But the only difference between Atlanta and all them other places is where else can you find Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Georgia State. You can find, I think Morris Brown might be open again. You know what I'm saying? So you got a strong African American intellectual base as well. So it ain't just we singing and dancing. Yeah, we doing that, but we also the executives behind that shit. We also the brand managers. We also the, you know, we sit in a lot of different places in that area. I ain't saying you go out state Georgia and find all that, but definitely in the Atlanta area, you going that metro
Well, and
area.
I
you gotta
think
think
too, like
about
to your point,
you.
even like Emory University and also
Emory,
like
yep,
Grady
yep,
Hospital.
yep.
Grady Hospital is like one of the only, what is it, safety net hospitals in America. So they have to treat you no matter what your diagnosis, and you have to be able to go see a specialist too.
Yep. Even
So you
Georgia
have
Tech
like
is down
probably a
there.
lot
Yep.
of HIV/AIDS research, things like that. People going down there working on those things too, and a lot of Black people are interested in those topics, especially a lot of young Black people. We have a lot of young sisters and brothers coming out of school, specifically interested in doing public health research and looking at more equitable outcomes. And especially since COVID-19, there's a lot more funding for those types of things too.
Facts. And I think moving forward, we're gonna continue to see that. Because, you know, not to get too deep in the weeds, but we don't even know. We still don't have a nice grab on some of the long-term effects of, you know, COVID, some of the long-term effects around vaccination. We still aren't making as much progress as we would like in, you know, obesity rates and people getting sleep, mental health. Like there's so many public health crises happening right now that, you know, you're gonna have your hand in that all day. So let's talk about this. Let's switch it up a little bit. So we talked about the Grammy. We talked about a little bit of hip hop. It was this picture that went viral that had everybody going nuts. It was right after the Super Bowl. Rihanna did her performance. You know, I'm not gonna judge it. She was pregnant. She had a contract. She had to fulfill. Okay, do what you got to do. Be out of there. But it was a picture that came out. I think it was it Italian Vogue or one of those. It was a picture of Rihanna, and ASAP was behind her holding the baby. And Black Twitter went nuts. Conscious Twitter went nuts. Masculine, feminine, red pill, blue pill. Everybody went nuts. And so I wanted to see if one, did anybody see it, and two, did you have any kind of take on it?
No, I didn't see. I seen it, but I didn't. It didn't really have an effect on me. I mean, I'm in the place right now where mentally where I just feel like to each his own, bro.
Hey, that's what's up, though.
Hey, if you know, like, if you want to be the feminine person in the relationship, or you want to, and it just, to me, it just goes back to the way they treat men in society. I think it's more of what they trying to sell versus what is actually happening in their relationship.
I think that's interesting. Dara, what you got on that?
What I thought about when I first saw the cover was, you know, beautiful picture, nice family. But I also thought too, like it was British Vogue. And so my first thought was they're used to a monarchy. They're used to a woman taking the lead and being in the forefront, hence Queen Elizabeth. And what was it? Her husband, what's his name? Philip or whatever his name was. He was behind the scenes, but they still had a partnership. Like if you looked at any documentary. So I don't even want to get into the toxic masculinity or femininity because I just think that it's stupid. I don't think you can call one sex toxic. I think people are toxic. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female, intersex or whatever, you know, whatever pronoun you use, you can be a toxic person no matter what you are. But I think that the reason why it was a hot button issue for a lot of Black men is I think that Black men have been emasculated for a very long time in the United States of America. And so sometimes you're more sensitive to things. But I think that when you look at a magazine cover, even if you look at one magazine cover, maybe they'll do it differently, like in Italy versus here. They switch it up because they are catering towards a lot of research goes into the people that they're catering towards. And British Vogue is going to cater towards the audience that's used to a woman stepping forward and taking a lead, and it's not even an issue because that's how their culture is. All around the world, we see prime ministers that are female. We've never had a woman president here in the United States of America. So the way that we view things here in America in a sort of a monolithic sense is not the way the rest of the world views women and within maybe a family unit or even women in power.
Okay, I like that take. I think so. When
we'll say as a country that we're progressives, but then we'll do some 1913 shit to women, like this abortion shit. You know what I'm saying? So I just think, like, at the end of the day, man, it's to each his own, is my opinion. Like, however they want to play it, however makes their family structure work correctly without conflict and toxicity, so be it.
Hey, this the new and improved Sam Snead, baby. This the new and
Man,
improved, baby.
bruh.
This is
I'm
the New
only
Year's
arguing with
resolution.
Yeah, this
look, I'm only arguing with niggas about Mike, man. As you improve your mic, we good.
You know what? That's a really good transition. I think, so this year we saw a lot of interesting things going on in the NBA. We saw LeBron break Kareem's scoring record. We saw the NBA All-Star game in a feat that I've never seen it before. We got the collective bargaining agreement coming up. We got people losing interest in the NBA, but we have something that's sitting on top of that even more. It's been this big debate between Mike and LeBron ever since LeBron, passed that record of Kareem for the all-time scoring record. And so the internet has been going nuts over LeBron versus Mike, LeBron versus Mike. Who better, Bron or Air Jordan? Oh, so let's have that conversation. Where do we stand on the Mike versus LeBron conversation?
I got a disclaimer before I talk about this.
I was waiting for you.
I love and respect Bron as a man, as an off the court, as a businessman, as a father, as a husband. I love all that about him. I love the way he represents our culture outside of basketball.
Oh, facts. So what's your take? With that out there.
That's my disclaimer.
Okay.
To me, he's just not tough. He's just not tough. You think, and then I'm a historian, so if one want to have this argument with me, they gonna have to know some NBA history. You know what I'm saying?
Big facts.
My 17-year-old son trying to jump on my status and argue with me about it. I'm like, boy, you don't even know these niggas, man.
Right.
But anyway, nigga ain't probably. How many LeBron games you done watched? I don't know. Nigga only watch highlights. They don't even watch the whole game. They watch highlights. He the GOAT because he dunked on a few niggas with my son. But anyway, 2010, right before he left and went to Miami, he was playing the Celtics. He gave up on his team. I want to say he even left the court before the game was over, if I'm not mistaken.
I think because if you remember, it was a rumor that Delonte West, his teammate, was smashing his mom's.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a rumor. That was fact.
I remember that.
Then you do the high school shit after you already in the NBA and go on this recruiting visits to these NBA franchises, and not one, not two, not three, not four, and then you go lose in the NBA finals to
Dirk now.
To Dirk now. So Dirk and a whole bunch of washed up niggas that no other NBA team wanted.
Out of all of LeBron's losses in the finals, him and Wade, that first one in Miami, that's the one that really was tough for me. That was a tough one.
And you had a game where you had 7, bro. The biggest, strongest, fastest motherfucker in the world on the basketball court, 7. On the biggest stage in the world for your sport, 7. So then you go back to Cleveland. You did your thing in Cleveland. I give you credit for that. I respected the Cleveland run. But to me, okay, so his first title. How did he win his first title?
Him and Wade down there.
In the clutch, though, what was the scenario in the clutch that won that game? Remember? LeBron airball. With the game on the line.
And
Bosh tapped it, kicked it to Ray Allen.
Yep.
Splash.
That's the second one. Yep, the second of the back-to-back they won. Yep.
Okay. The third, the one with Kyrie.
The Cleveland one, yep.
Bro,
16.
You averaged 37. Kyrie averaged like 37. And hit the game winner to win the series. Now you look at this shit show that's in LA right now. I think that Bron's benefit to this world has been, to this game has been, one, ever since you was 16, you was the biggest, strongest, fastest basketball player in the world. What moves do LeBron got? What moves do LeBron got? Tell me a LeBron James basketball move.
I can think of a couple. Well, I'm a bit biased, but I can think of a couple.
I
In
haven't.
his
I don't.
later years that look down three that he was hitting, he always had that move, the crab dribble to the cup. He always had his little fadeaway, a little bunny fadeaway. He always had his little drive to the cup, the little LeBron dunk.
The fadeaway.
He got some things,
bro. Jordan is known as a killer. Kobe is known as a killer. What is LeBron known as?
The guy that plays the game the right way. That's what he's known for, making the right pass. That's what they say.
And with playing the game the right way, and knowing how to make the right play, you have lost a lot because you wasn't a killer when you were supposed to be a killer. If I pay $10,000 and drive to South Carolina for some top shelf pit bulls to be guard dogs for my house, and it come time to guard my house and they not killers, what I need you for?
You don't need Snoopy. You need
what I need you for. What Omar said it on the wire. You cannot prepare to fight with the wolves at night by wrestling with puppies during the day.
Shout out Omar.
So
I'll say this. I think this is two kind of things with the LeBron and Mike conversation. I think, growing up as a kid, we watched Mike vanquish every opponent as a kid. As a teenager, we saw him vanquish every opponent. When the lights were on and they were in the NBA Finals, Bulls won. When he wasn't there, they didn't win. When he left, they didn't win no more. So I think on that tip, we didn't see him lose to his rivals. He's undefeated in the finals, so that puts you up there just in another conversation. But on the flip side, I think LeBron has shown what longevity could bring. I think over a 20-year period, I think that when he's done, it'll be very. I think the irony is when he's done, I don't think we'll ever see anybody like him as far as that'll play that long, that'll be able to do what he did with the kind of talent that he had at that time in the NBA. I think he really did a good job of moving the needle as far as player empowerment. I really think he did a dope job of living up to the expectation of being the chosen one from 16 years old. I think that he what hurt LeBron. So he had a great, amazing Hall of Fame career, but what hurt him was he never got a chance to get coached. He never got a chance. Who was his high school coach? It wasn't one of the best coaches in the country. He didn't go to college. When he got to Cleveland, who was the coach? When he got to Miami, who was the coach? Back in Cleveland, it wasn't no Chuck Daly's. It wasn't no.
He never knew how to set up his team.
Phil Jackson's. It wasn't no Brett Popovich. He ain't getting none of that. So his whole career, he been doing the shit. He been taking motherfuckers along for the ride, just off of being the biggest, fastest, and strongest. So for his credit, he had no Phil Jackson.
Yes. So now, imagine if this nigga had to really developed his skill, his ball handling, being able to shoot free throws. Like, he could have been a killer.
And I think I'm happy and fortunate to have seen the career. But one thing I want to say is I think we jump over Kobe though. Not just because he did, but I think we forget Kobe in that conversation. Like if Jordan is one, then the closest thing we've had to him was the remix with Kobe. You know what I'm saying? And Kobe did it.
Hey,
Kobe
listen
said,
to this though.
Shaq, I'm done with you. Get the fuck up out of here, and I'm gonna climb up the mountain again. And he climbed up that bitch, back to back.
Listen to this though.
Straight.
In LeBron era, he done let Steph Curry get 4 rings.
Now, that's the only or one of the biggest thorns in his side is the LeBron era was 20 years, but Steph Curry came in half that time and changed the way we play basketball. Like my son is 12. When you go to the little basketball games, you see these kids going as far back from the rim as they can go, throwing that bitch up, thinking that Steph. And the game will never be the same because of Steph Curry. And unfortunate for LeBron, the Steph Curry era happened on his watch. And when they went head to head, he only won once out of the 4 times they played. But to his credit, you playing against the Monstars. You playing against KD. You playing against Steph. You playing against Clay. You playing against Draymond.
You bringing the Monstars too, though. You bringing the Monstars with you, my nigga.
He had Kyrie. Well, 2 of those years he had Kyrie because the other 2 Kyrie was hurt. Kevin Love he brought with him 1 year, 2 years because he was hurt. No, he was hurt only one of those years. That first year, 15, and then he had them with him. He had Amon Shumpert. He had J.R. Smith. It wasn't like that KD team. It wasn't like them. It wasn't like that KD Warriors. It wasn't like them. But I'll say this. Just one last word on it. I think we were blessed to watch them both play. Mike will always be Mike in a room by himself. Kobe is in a room, but LeBron. Listen, if you would have told me from the day he got in 2000 through 2004, and they said in 20 years he will have done all this stuff, damn. To me, you lived up to the hype, big dog.
Hey, to me, ain't no motherfucking way you go to the finals 9 times, bro, and you only come out that bitch with the title 4 times, bro. I ain't want to hear that shit.
Okay, and I'll say this.
And look, I'm gonna give you the one. I'm gonna give you the San Antonio one because nobody beating Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Was it nobody beating them? But outside of that, you should have won the rest of them, bro.
I think the 2 against the Warriors should be the only 2. Well, the 2 against the Warriors and the 1 against those Spurs. Those should have been the only ones he lost. Wasn't nobody beating the KD Warriors. Wasn't nobody beating them.
Sorry to interrupt, but Michigan and Illinois just had their first overtime. It's tied 81, so they're about to go into double overtime. They're double overtime now.
Usually,
Michigan fighting their ass off to try to get that boy.
Mm-hmm. 81-81 is about to be another one.
Yeah, listen, our boys been playing them close. You might give Hunter another one to throw up. So I think this is a good time for a transition to our next round of topics. So we talked about it a little bit. This is our section we call politics as usual. Politics as usual. Well, if you're a Jay-Z fan, you know that. And so now this is our chance. We want to get into topics around Biden, student loan forgiveness, Biden's foreign policy. Shooting down balloons in the sky. And the Dems and the black men. So where we want to start? Let's start with Biden. 1, do you think he's gonna run? 2, how would you grade him so far? And then 3, let's talk about his foreign policy.
Go ahead, Darren. We just talked for 10 minutes.
That's who I was throwing it to.
Sometimes you got a politics, so sometimes you gotta let men be men. I don't mind it. Don't bother me.
You're real one. For that.
I try to be. Thank you. I think that let me just say this from my perspective, because most of my girlfriends are healthcare workers, and all of us have our master's degree or higher. I got tired of hearing people bang together pots and pans and clap for me during the pandemic, the height of it, when I was working and everybody else was, Zooming at home and sitting in their pajamas.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of student loan debt, and I went to a state school, and I'm out here working. So I feel like the least they could have done was cancel for people that were actually out in these streets when all of this was going on. Another thing I have to say is I get so tired of just the corporate structure of America where people cancel PPP loans without a peep for some of the wealthiest people in this nation, but you cancel $10,000 or even propose that, and all of a sudden, it's a huge deal. I feel like this is basically corporate servitude. They just want us to be indebted to corporations for a long time, and they just want us to keep on working. And additionally, if I'm going to be a cynic, I think that Joe Biden we could have all woke up and had our student loan debt canceled because the IRS has all of our information. People didn't have to apply for stimulus checks. They just got them. So the same people that got them, that 125,000 barrier or whatever you all want to institute in terms of a threshold, cancel everybody's student loans overnight. They could have never reissued the debt because that would have been a logistical nightmare. So in my opinion, Joe Biden, like always, is a Democrat that believes in gay marriage. and the correct pronoun and nothing else. He will do nothing to help the basic economic needs of people, especially Black women who carry a lot more student loan debt than any other demographic, because a lot of us are first time or first generation college graduates that are really trying to do something with our lives. And so, in my humble opinion, like I always say, we need to vote third party, because we need to show people and that unless you're doing something for my pocketbook in terms of reparations and canceling my student loan debt, you're not talking to Dare Greer anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the only two things I care about. Mm-hmm. Light up the house, pass the hair bill. Guess what? I don't choose to wear my hair in the afro. It's not nappy. I choose to straighten it. But all those things, they do absolutely nothing for me. And I feel like they're performative, and a lot of Black women get taken in time and time again by the Democratic Party because they do performative things for us. And the Republican Party is just overtly racist. That's how I feel.
You know what? I think that's interesting. I think that, I think it's interesting right now. I think that this next year is going to be, every election is the most important election, but I think this one is going to be a very interesting election. I think typically when you have a sitting president, usually in history, they kind of prevail. There was words around maybe Kamala taking the front seat. They were trying to position her a little bit over what was happening with Tyree Nichols in that situation. It's kind of unrest in the Democratic Party around, age and can he win in general. I think the Republicans on the other side are in an interesting position, trying to figure out, do we want to go back to what worked for us the last time we won in that Trumpism, or is there a candidate that's going to move them even more? I don't know how more extreme you can get, but even more extreme to take their voters to the next level. So I think that's going to be interesting in that regard. Around student loan debt, that's something I was very disappointed in the Biden administration about. I think that if you really, really want to solve problems for the middle class in this country, student loan forgiveness is a tool that you can use to leverage for people to, run the gambit. Maybe somebody's a little more willing to start a business. Maybe somebody's a little bit more willing to, give back to their community. Maybe somebody's a little more willing to take the risk, buy a home, save for kids' college, all these things that you want to do when you don't have that burden on you. I think that they dropped the ball on it. The Supreme Court was just making noise on it this week. As far as the student loan forgiveness plan, I've seen people through the public service forgiveness get it. I've seen some people who didn't get it. I applied. I need to reapply, obviously, because I don't think they had my information correct. So I think that's going to be very interesting as far as that's concerned. Now, Biden and foreign policy, I think, for a step in the right direction, I think that one area where I think Biden has done at least a decent, pretty good job in the foreign policy around, how they moved with Ukraine, around how they were, how they moved to get rid of what we thought was the unidentified flying object. A flying object that was China sponsored. So I think it's going to be a tough road ahead for the Dems, but I think there are some things that Biden has done as far as some of that foreign policy stuff. But that the student loan forgiveness, I think they dropped the ball on that. And you're right, they were forgiving all them PPP loans, but you can't give student loans. It's a problem.
For me, you still got Black men locked up for marijuana. You have done nothing to the mandatory minimum sentencing
guidelines, right?
Yeah, you've done nothing. You've done nothing to the point of the discrepancy between crack cocaine and cocaine. Student loans just put the icing on the cake for me. Your foreign policy, it was a B. You should have shot that shit down as soon as you saw it. Ain't no telling what
big facts.
Ain't no telling what type of data, intel, information that they got from that motherfucker flying across the whole damn country.
I mean, and my thing is this though.
D Barnes, I think you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're muted.
That was some good
Yeah.
shit. Everybody missed that. That was the fire.
I just saw your lips moving and I couldn't hear nothing. And I'm like, I don't know if he knows, but he's muted.
I'm glad you told me, because I was waiting on landing that. So I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay.
And I just say this. I think China gets more out of the spyware and TikTok than they did when they got
TikTok for sure. TikTok for sure.
But I will say this: whoever the next president is, be it Biden or be it whoever from the Republican Party, they're gonna have to have a very firm hand with China. That's one thing I will say about the Trump administration. I don't agree with a lot that they did, but I really was a fan of some of their foreign policy as they were dealing with China, WeChat, TikTok, how they were forcing the sell of that company, how they were, how they started the trade war, how they just try to let one of our main rivals know we ain't no whole ass. You know what I'm saying? We'll do what we got to do. And as things escalate between, Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East, North Korea, in this fight for power, as we digitalize our economies and our money, it's gonna be interesting moving forward. Real talk.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know what I honestly think too? I think that I'm not sure, like, I'm not big into crypto or anything, but I feel like China is going to take digital currency to the next level before the United States ever could.
I hear where you're coming from, because even if you think about what they're doing with their social credit movement, you know what I'm saying? Like, I will say this: America is attempting to, because when you move with the force of the dollar, unfortunately, you gotta move slower because the dollar got a long tail on it. I think they want to go digital, and even if you keep up with what's been going on, we're trying to make strides that way. But China seems to, because they don't have the red tape that we have, they can move at a speed rate that take us to get through the House, the Senate, this and that. All the red tape we have, they don't have that. So to your point, they can move faster than that. Okay, all right, we getting there. We just out there. So this is the section of the program I like to call parting shots. So this is just a topic, an idea, or something you want to talk about that we didn't talk about yet, that you want to bring to the table. I know a couple of days ago we were on our pre-call and we were talking about, especially for Steve, we were talking about community impact in schools and how communities can take back over education through community activism at the school board level. I definitely wanted you to get off on that one on a part.
So my life work, probably until the day I retire, will be trying to restore Battle Creek Public Schools to some. I'm not ignorant though, so I want some of the old school shit we used to do that provided the structure, but I also want to tap into some of these new innovative ways to work these kids' minds and to keep them involved. We in the school district that got 83% of the kids that can't read.
Wait. 83% of the children.
83% of the kids in Battle Creek Public Schools cannot read on their level.
80.
at grade level. At
Their grade level.
How is that even possible?
83%.
You got another, because every building is different. We'll just say you got another 35% that's missed at least 10% of the school year. So when I look at those issues, I'm looking at it like, okay, how do we move the needle with these two things? We need way more community engagement from the district than we have right now. And we don't need a Band-Aid. We need a revolution. We need to tear down and rebuild. And what does it say? It say culture and climate is created by leadership, but it's sustained and maintained through accountability. So it needs to be accountability when you don't perform your job duties. You get what I'm saying? D Barnes muted again.
Listen, I'm still fucked up over the 83%, my nigga. 83% of our students.
And you can't get no parents in. You can't get nobody in the community to organize or even come to a school board meeting. But on the flip side of it, our kids is killing each other in the streets.
All right, I think that's exactly what I wanted as a parting shot from you. I got one, and I'm gonna leave it to Dare to go last. My parting shot is just around, I think, the Renaissance idea around technology. I think, I study the creation, consumption, and impact of technology in urban communities. And I really want to, kind of wave the red flag for the fact that, we have to become a lot more technologically proficient. But when I hear statistics like 83% of our babies are not reading on level, how are we going to teach them coding? How are we going to teach them programming? How are we going to teach them AI? How are we going to teach them crypto? How are we going to teach them Web3? How are we going to allow for our babies and our young people in our community to take advantage of the technological revolution that's happening right now if we ain't even reading? You know what I'm saying? Like that. So that makes me rethink, where do we need to start this process, and how can we further do that? So, same way you feel about, the kids getting their education, I feel the same way about how we need to take advantage of the technological revolution that will allow for us to have a future brighter than the one that we currently have, because we know AI is replacing everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about the answer. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, and especially where primarily African Americans are centered in the economy. Those are the jobs that are being automated first. And so as we think about it, we got to find a way to reskill. We got to find a way to explore technology and get in at the ground level so we can really see some of those heights that these other folks see. And it's our job to do it. So I'm gonna pass it to Dara with her parting shot, and then we gonna, get out of here.
I was unmuted. My parting shot is, I think that oftentimes when I'm getting involved in certain community projects, a lot of them have to do with Black women. I think that there are more support services, especially mental health services for women in this country in general than men. So then I've made a concerted effort now to support Black men, especially Black single fathers. So one thing that I started doing is I started sending like dinner to a single Black father and their family once a month. And I would encourage other people to do so.
That's clutch.
Yeah, I would encourage other people to do so. I think the imagery a lot of young Black men are seeing, and Black fathers in general, like if you think about Tyree Nichols, George Floyd, all those things played over and over again. If you thought that every time you left your home you could be murdered just for doing the most rudimentary everyday things, then you might live in a state of fear. And so I think it's important, if you have a Black man in your life, to love on him, or, even a stranger, to show them some kindness, because they're not always receiving that from other people because they're looked at as a threat.
Man, with that said, listen, they say, on Mo Better Blues, he said, in the mortal words of Daryl Dawkins, when all is said and done, ain't nothing else left to say or do. And on that note, I'm good. So, listen, world, episode 1. I call it the Culture Report 3 the hard way. You're gonna see us again next month. You'll still see a little bit more from this. We want to thank you for joining us, and we're definitely gonna be back. Thanks for coming out. God bless and good night.
Bye.